So that's one thing to think about. And also to think about as well, if you're filing that transfer, maybe just file an H4 with it as well for her, just so that you guys have those same validity periods for your approval notices. So that's one thing to consider. The other thing to consider is this. In very rare circumstances, so, I can't do an exact percentage, but very rare circumstances, I've seen where someone moves to another employer with a transfer, that the H-1B employer is going to withdraw the H-1, right? Because they don't want you're not working on it anymore. In very rare circumstances, I have seen that H-1 withdrawal trigger the H-4's withdrawal. And basically what happens is USCIS says, well, that H is no longer active, so the H-4 is no longer active. That's wrong from a policy perspective, but in a legal perspective, it's wrong. But here's the problem with that. You have no grounds to attack a withdrawal. If an H-4 is withdrawn, it's not like a denial. There's no appeal. There's no ability to reopen or reconsider. Withdrawal is withdrawal. It's gone. It's done. So you have somebody who's moved to another employer and started working, and then they or their lawyer receives a withdrawal for the H-4, and they're like, why did this happen? Well, now you're in a position where you have to file a nunc-pro-tunc H-4, basically saying you should forgive my time out of status because you guys screwed up. Is it going to get approved? Probably. Why wouldn't the government approve it? I mean, they're the ones that screwed up. Is it going to get approved? Great. But what about the problems associated with that? If your wife's working with an employer and she's no longer in H-4 status, is the employer going to come back and say, hey, you can't work with us, you're fired? So avoiding that issue is just, again, filing the H-1 and H-4 together and just filing it for peace of mind. Is it necessary 100%? No. Can you do it just to avoid those two scenarios? Yes.